both guys.
Thank you so much.
I love both guys. I had a conversation with Stephen A. about it, and I told him I was Brown. I'd have walked up on him the same way.
I'm going to drop the mic on all of this right now, once and for all.
So Stephen A. Smith is tweaking, and Dwyane Wade is enjoying every minute of it after Stephen tried to stir up drama about LeBron James. Wade stepped in to set the record straight. And he did not hold back. Man showed Stephen the door, but instead of backing off, Stephen doubled down, ranting about the situation on his show. Turns out he doesn't see anything wrong with his actions, and instead he's blaming Dwyane for coming for him.
My job! That's my job! I'm supposed to ignore that while he's wearing a Lakers uniform?
From fiery interviews to heated social media reactions, this feud is getting out of control. So what really went down? Why is Stephen so obsessed with this? And why is the internet calling him out? Let's find out.
He got the Draymond Greens out there with his damn podcast. For some reason, suddenly forgetting my character and who I am. And he's talking about yo.
So Dwyane Wade and LeBron James have been friends for a long time. The two were in the same draft class of 2003 and even won 2 championships together on the Miami Heat. In fact, even Stephen admits that these two have something special going on.
About LeBron James, and they were talking about who's his best teammate ever, and they brought up Anthony Davis, and they brought up Kyrie Irving. I said, Dwyane Wade.
What's heartwarming about the friendship between these two is that even after all these years, Dwyane hasn't stopped supporting his best man. In fact, Wade decided to step up in the biggest way recently by exposing Stephen for lying about his beef with LeBron during his appearance on 700 PM in Brooklyn with Carmelo Anthony. Recently, Dwyane started off by talking about his relationship with the two parties. Apparently, he's close with both of them, and he had a conversation with Smith after the viral encounter.
I have a personal relationship with Stephen A. Obviously, our relationship with Brown and my relationship with Brown is documented.
Of course.
You know what I mean? And I have a relationship with Stephen A. as well. And so we talk. You know what I mean? I'm not talking out of school. Me and him text back and forth about the situation.
And guess what Dwyane told him? He told him that if he was a father, he would have pulled the same move on Smith. I told him, as a father, I'm walking up on you, right? He also pointed out how the fact that LeBron even got in Stephen's face was all kinds of shocking because the Lakers player hardly ever loses his cool.
Because I'm like that too. Like I'm at you.
Of course.
But also, you know what I told him, I said, and I think we've never seen LeBron do that. Like even we've never seen, like LeBron don't even go back at players that foul him too hard on the court. We've never seen him be, like he's always been just even keel and level headed in every aspect. And sometimes you want him to jump. Sometimes you want him to go, and he won't.
But watching Stephen sitting on that bench after the things he said about his son in front of everyone is the one thing that made LeBron lose his temper. And to Dwyane, that makes perfect sense. And he told Stephen the same thing. Stephen was partly mad about LeBron getting in his face like that during his sit-down on the Gills Arena. He called the player's decision to confront him in front of the cameras weak.
What do you make of LeBron confronting you in the aftermath of that situation?
I thought it was weak. I thought it was some...
But Dwyane wasn't about to Stephen slander his best pal like that. However, he also didn't want to fan the fire any further either. And so he made an interesting take. He made Stephen believe that the fact LeBron did that to him was a compliment in disguise.
You know, I told him, I said, you know, Stephen, I think the one thing is, and first of all, I take it as that's a sign of respect that LeBron did that to you.
Yeah.
See, Stephen's got the biggest voice in the NBA, and now he's even the face of ESPN, and LeBron seemed to acknowledge that in his own twisted way.
Your microphone is the loudest, your platform is the biggest, and also you're a black man.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, man, so you got to understand, you know, where he's coming from with that. If he even approached you, because yes, the Skip Bayless of the world and all these guys have said things about him his entire career, and he's been above it. He stayed quiet above it and did his thing. And so that meant something. That's respect right there for what everything you built. We know Stephen A. from Quite Frankly. We know Stephen A. when he was on the come up. And so that's respect.
However, Dwyane wasn't blind to the fact that this was uncharted territory for most people. I mean, a big-time NBA player getting in the face of a sports commentator during the game? Yeah, you don't see that every day.
It's a touchy situation because we've never seen this before. We've never seen this before when it comes to son, father, what do you say, what don't you say? In that aspect. So I don't know if it's a right answer, but I would have walked up on him and said.
However, Dwyane wasn't blind to the fact that this was uncharted territory for most people. I mean, a big-time NBA player getting in the face of a sports commentator during the game. Yeah, you don't see that every day.
Because I want to put an end once and for all to this discussion about yours truly and LeBron James in light of what happened last week. Dwyane Wade and Carmelo Anthony, both of whom know LeBron very well, weighed in on the situation between me and LeBron.
Honestly, Dwyane kept it real overall during the interview. He wasn't problematic and laid down the facts plain and simple. And that should have been the end of it. But we're talking about Stephen A. here. The man thrives on drama and controversy, and so staying true to himself, he decided to address Dwyane's comments on his show. And here's what he had to say. Surprisingly, he was thankful to Dwyane for laying down the facts. He didn't make it seem like Stephen backstabbed a friend. He and LeBron have rarely seen eye to eye on anything, and Dwyane acknowledged that the sports commentator said, like Melo said, it's been stewing for years. See, what I've gotten pissed about with this particular subject is that too many people are not touching on the truth. Melo and D-Wade did. Me and LeBron don't have a relationship. LeBron, don't mess with me, and I don't mess with him. I respect the hell out of him. Apart from that, Stephen offered some clarification on why he's been going around talking about the incident on shows. He could have just said his piece to LeBron's face that day, but he didn't. Turns out he didn't want to make a scene. He said, me and LeBron, we don't roll like that. High and by, he ain't have much use for me, and I damn sure don't have much use for him. And that expletive was cemented when he did what he did the other day, because you rolled up on me knowing that I wouldn't have a chance to respond unless I was willing to make a scene, which was at courtside while the national televisions were rolling on the day that my new contract had been announced to the world. It's not going to stop me from doing my job. Stephen also defended himself against the public backlash, saying that people should stop reporting about him dragging Bronny James. He's never done it. In fact, if someone brings it up again, he has the video footage to prove them wrong.
I think his wife is the first lady of the NBA, class personified. I think his mom is an absolutely wonderful woman. I don't have to talk to Randy much. That's a good brother. Rich Paul and me are pretty damn cool. Rich is good people. Bronny James, that is not true. To the James family and all your close confidants and loved ones, that is not true. I have video, documentation.
Apart from that, Stephen confirmed that Dwyane did talk to him about the situation. He even expressed some love for his old pal.
D-Wade is told 1,000% truth when he said what he texted me and said to me, because we do have a relationship. I love that brother. That's my dog.
However, halfway through the rant, Stephen got all riled up. Man was straight up screaming into the mic.
I would never call out somebody as a father for stuff that's going on in the privacy of your life in your home. But I covered the NBA. And what I was talking about when it came to fatherhood was what we were seeing on an NBA basketball court. That's my job. That's my job.
What's ironic is that even after all the backlash, Stephen said that he's not backing down from a word. He said you'd think he would sit and reflect on his actions about how he could have avoided the entire situation, but no.
It's a week later, and I'm not going to talk about this anymore. But let me say this to y'all. It's a week later. I'm not backing up from a word I said. I was right. I was doing my job. And in the process of doing my job, I wasn't doing my job when I didn't talk about him.
Honestly, it feels like Steven is dragging the situation at this point, one person said. For the last time, bro said this like 3 times already. Meanwhile, another person wrote, "You don't want to put an end to this, you love this convo." In fact, even LeBron James feels like Steven needs to get a life at this point. Yeah, the player has finally broken his silence. And here's what he had to say during his appearance on the Pat McAfee show. LeBron called out the sports commentator for blowing things out of proportion. I mean, it's been weeks, and he's still playing the same tune. James even compared him to Taylor Swift, the Lakers player said. He's like on a Taylor Swift tour run right now. I didn't want to address it. I wasn't going to address it. But since the video came out, I feel the need to address it. Meth, are you kidding me? If there's one person who couldn't wait for the video to drop so you could address it, it's you. Oh, and LeBron also feels like he wasted his time by confronting Steven because he didn't change his attitude. He completely missed the whole point. Never would I ever not allow people to talk about the sport, criticize players about what they do on the court. That is your job to criticize. That is all part of the game. But when you take it and when you get personal with it, it's my job to not only protect my damn household, but protect the players. And he's dead sure that Steven's going to make another video after his comments.
I know that he's gonna be happy as hell. He's gonna be smiling from ear to ear when he hears me talking about him again. Oh my God, he's gonna get home and grab some ice cream out of the freezer and sit in his chair and his tighty whities on the couch.
I hope at some point you two do get a chance.
Yeah,
but you're right.
Dude, like relax, bro. Like relax. Like seriously, just.
And honestly, LeBron's shooting straight because a lot of other people feel the same as well. Take Draymond Green. He thinks Steven is dragging the situation. In fact, he also reminded Steven of what could happen to him on the streets if he kept up an attitude like that. Draymond said, "A lot of problems that guys have with media is to call something that man did BS or weak. Those are words where we grew up. You get hands put on you." What's more, he was put off by how Steven approached the entire situation. The Golden State Warriors expressed his disdain, saying, "Calling another man weak, that's just not basketball. That's what Bron was saying in the first place. You're calling Bron weak for stepping to you. But you're taking shots at him as a father at TV behind a camera. Most would say that's weak." He also said, "You are on national TV condemning a black man as a father because his son is playing in the NBA. How does that even make sense? I can't respect that." Honestly, it's nice to see that LeBron's got so many folks lined up to protect him, because not everyone on the internet thinks that the player had a right to get in Steven's face on national TV like that. There's Candace Owens, for one, who believes that if LeBron is going to insist on putting his son on the court, he should be prepared for the backlash as well.
You are trying to make the argument, LeBron, that your son is ready to play in the big leagues, that he has to be ready to deal with the criticism, okay? That's just how this works.
However, he wanted LeBron to understand that if Bron is going to play as a professional basketball player, he's definitely going to get criticized, and LeBron simply has to put up with it. Besides, Bronny gets fairly compensated for it, Ryan said. Granted, Bronny gets criticized more than any other 55th pick of the draft, but he also gets more love, money, and opportunity than any other two, thanks to his father's greatness. As for the man of the hour, Bronny James, he hasn't said anything about the situation. In fact, he's been keeping his head down and focusing on the game. During the Lakers' showdown against the Milwaukee Bucks recently, the rookie came off the bench to score a team and career-high 17 points in 30 minutes, which impressed Steven. Even he said, "I was very impressed because I saw an elevation in his level of confidence and poise. It didn't really faze him. He didn't look as nervous as he had looked on previous appearances on the basketball court. He looked like somebody who belonged." Just looking at the Lakers without LeBron, without Luka, without Rui Hachimura, without Austin Reeves, of course, that put Bronny James in a position where he could get his 30 minutes. But give credit where credit is due. But Dwyane and LeBron aren't going to back off just because Steven said a few words about Bronny. The man has a long history of being problematic, and even now he's not letting up, going on about how he's right. But what do you think? Did Dwyane make the right points? And when is Steven going to drop this for good? Let us know what you think in the comment section below. And make sure to check out this next.